Good afternoon. This is Herbert J. Keener. I'm the author of a book called Decision to Die, Strength to Live. But today we're starting a new program, and it's right now we're calling it the Senior Moment. I want to speak to people out there that have decided they're done in this world, and when they still have a body that's healthy enough to move around and still able to think and do things. So today I want to be able to let you know who I am, and I'm 81 years old, so I think that qualifies me for giving advice on being old. And I've been blessed in the book that I deal with. It talks about everything up until the time I was 44 years old. And I was a drug runner that turned minister. So I've been through a lot and seen a lot, and I have a lot of conclusions to some of the things that I thought about when I was in my 40s. Today we run into a position that when we get a certain age, like say we get 65, we get 70, let's say 70, we start to turn invisible to the young people of this world. I know by my own grandsons and granddaughters that once you get past that 70 mark, you're just done. And it put me down for a while. But now, in the last couple of years, I've decided, now wait a minute, I'm not who they think I am who I say I am. So I took control and began to do things that everybody else thought wasn't possible. And that's just starting to live, just loving life. I'm in the best position I've ever been in my life, and I've had a lot of money, and I've been broke, and I've had medium. But the thing is, at this time in life, I'm at peace. And I want to share with the people that are so controlled by that number called their age. I need for you to really open your mind and understand. And I do understand disabilities, handicaps, and sicknesses and things like that. I went through the COVID. I thought it was all done last year. I figured I was over. But I come through that. And if I come through that, then I can come through a lot of other things. My body is healthy. I'm able to get around. I can't do what I did at 40, but my mind is the same. I don't feel any difference in the mind. But my difference is in the physical strength. But I'm able to do a lot of things. I have a little car lot down in Lodi, California, and I have a ministry called Keys to Living Ministry. So I'm still doing things that people my age is actually taboo. But if you're sitting there wondering what in the world can you do at 70 or 80 or even 90, you have to start looking around. In the first place, if you're hanging out with people that are negative, that's the first thing you do. Start looking around for people that are positive and want to lift you up. Take these negative people. Now, Albert Einstein said this: stay away from negative people. They have a problem for every solution. So what you need to do is find that goal that you haven't reached, or look out to that what you wanted to do when you was in your 40s and 50s. You know, I pastored a church for 5.5 years. That was a job, and it was a real job. But I done that in my 50s. And as I was working out doing this, when I was released from that, I went into construction. I'm a general contractor by trade if I wanted to be. I have a license. I just don't have the will to do that. But I still build things that are around my home. And what I want to get across to most people, the reason I started this program was I was around 65, 70-year-olds, and I kept hearing them say, well, you know what, I really can't do that because, man, when you get my age, and I'd ask them, how old are you? And they said 65. I said, well, I'm 81. And I was able to do things, and they should have been able to do more things. They didn't have a disability. I went to Home Depot one time, and I was pushing my cart down the road, and I see this man having a problem loading some lumber. So I went over there and loaded it up for him and got it on. He said, man, he said, it's been hard. He said, at my age, you can't hardly do that anymore. I said, well, how old are you? He said, 72. And I just loaded his basket for him, and I told him, I said, well, I'm 81. He was floored. He didn't understand it. I said, don't get caught up. Don't get caught up in what you can't do. Just look around and see what you can do. That's the key to living a good life. Now, we can all live right up until the time we die, either stuck in front of a television or stuck in a route that we just sit around, we do nothing, and anytime anybody wants us to do anything, our excuse is, well, I'm too old. I can't do that. So what I want to do is enlighten those that have a mind to do something. In the first place, what I want to initiate for this segment is, number one, God is my source. And I'm a Christian, I'm a minister and all that, but that's not what this program is about. That's my personal part. Whether you believe in God or whether you don't, that's okay. That's your personal thing. But for me, that's where my source comes from. I'm 81 years old, I'm healthy, and all I want to do is kind of find out a way to transfer who I am and what I can do to those that are as healthy as I am. And in my late 70s, I find myself dealing mainly of what I couldn't do. I'm 70 years old, and I just said, well, I got to be done because I'm 70. That number stopped me from doing a number of things. And I seen the elderly parked in front of a TV, and here they're 70, 75 or something. So, and I began to wonder, well, what is this all about? Why am I not able just to go on and die and be like everybody else? Nobody in my family lived to be my age. And so the first thing I figured out is the pills they make today keep us going. And as long as our body and our flesh is able to move around and open up hard things and close things and do things, these pills help us live longer. So my first advice is, if you haven't seen a doctor in a long time, go see that doctor and tell him your problems, and he'll give you some pills that'll make you feel better, and you'll be able to get up and do things. I take about 4 pills in the morning, 2 or 3 in the evening. I mean, it's no different than eating a meal. So in my 70s, you couldn't get me to do anything with pills or anything else. I thought, I'm going to be fine. Well, I signed up for insurance, health insurance. And I think I was 68, 69, something like that. And so they accepted my wife, but they turned me down. So I said, well, now, if vultures like the insurance people turn me down, was about $400 a month, I think. So if they turn me down for that, that means I must be dead. I just haven't laid down yet. So I went to my doctor, and I said, hey, why did this insurance company turn me down? And he said, well, he said, because number one, I'm surprised you haven't had a heart attack by now. He said, you should have already had one. And he said, it's not if you're going to have one, it's when. So that's when I knew that something had to be done. So I asked him if there's any way that I can keep them from putting a zipper in my chest. And he said, well, he said, you'd have to do everything I told you. He said, what'd you do with the pills I gave you last year? I said, they're in the nightstand. He said, well, they don't work from there. And so my doctor said, you have to do everything. And I did. I took every test there was, and he came along and he said, okay, here's what you need to take. This, be sure and take this medicine this time, that time. That's when I began taking medicine. And 6 months later, I went in. He said, you're in perfect health. See, I went from fixing to have a heart attack to being healthy. So I know it works because I myself experienced the fact that it was not my disobedience that was going to keep me well. It was being obedient to the doctor and doing what he says. And he just literally saved my life. And here I am at 81, still going. Now, he's went on home. Now, he's passed away many years ago. But he saved my life. So at this time, for you hard-headed people that are out there saying you don't need pills, man, don't be stupid like I was. You get out there and you look, because you can do things. I'm 81 years old, and I can still run, and I can jump. And I can do things. People are amazed at what I'm doing. But it's not about me. You need to prepare yourself for this. So that's what I want to talk about today is get yourself prepared to live until you die. Not just exist until you die. There's a life out there. And in the next segment, we'll talk about more about how it come about and what I've seen and what I think about it growing old, because I figure there's no way I'm going to live to be 81. I got type 2 diabetes at 75. I made it all the way to 75 before I got a type 2 diabetes. Well, all I did was have to take more pills and watch what I ate. I took more pills. I haven't watched what I ate. But I'm telling you, there's a cure to whatever problem comes up. I know that if you begin to look inside yourself, if you really want to live and not just exist, you're going to have to step up. You're going to have to look at yourself. You're going to have to look at your goals. What do you want to do? How do you want to do it? Are you capable of doing it? See, there's where you can't lie to yourself. If you're capable of doing something and you deny it because of your age, you're already gone. You need to know that you can get involved in something that you can do, quit worrying what you can't do, and get involved in something around you. If you're a churchgoer, get involved with that. If you're community guy, or gal, you get into the community. I mean, there's people out there that's just like you, that once you get out and meet them, that will give you the uplift that you need to go forward and start doing things that matter, not just eat, sleep until you die. I mean, when I turned 70, I thought, wow, this is it. But there's a way, and there's always a way to do something. And I'm blessed to be able to do this right here. But I've got some great people that are just absolutely good at this. And we got Mike over there. He's the one running this thing. All I'm doing is yakking. But I want you to know I'm hopeful that I'm going to be able to put into some of your hearts what to do to be able to rise up and quit hanging out and start living. You know, existing is one thing, but living is another. Living is loving people and people loving you, people loving to see you come. You know, don't be the type of people that they love to see you go. Be the type of person they love to see you come. But sometimes we have to change what we do in order to be in that position. So in the next segment, we'll just talk a little bit more about this. You be blessed. Okay, we're back with the second segment of this hour. Uh, on the break, you've seen a picture of my book. You can go to herbkeener.com and purchase that book. Or I'd love to hear from you with any comments you'd like to have. You just send it at herb@herbkeener.com. And we'd love to hear from you and ideas of what's going on. I really don't know how this is going to go, where it's going to go, but I do have a wealth of information because I lived a very uncontrollable life. First thing I did was not getting educated. Education is absolutely would be my priority now if I had gone back to start over. At the time I left, I didn't even finish the 10th grade. So that made for a hard time. But I did manage to gather up a lot of money, but then it didn't take long to get rid of it because of lack of knowledge. So the one thing you can help your children out with and your grandchildren is to emphasize the fact that education is the one thing that's going to make their life a lot simpler. So what I want to talk about now is who you surround yourself with. Now, when I was growing up and when I was going to adult times, I surrounded myself with people that dealt with things of the world that was illegal. I mean, all the time that I dealt with this stuff, this is what my book is about, is what I went through in order to come out the other side. I'm just blessed beyond measure to be here today and to be even survive after the things that happened to me in my 40s, because I literally should have died in March 15th of 1984, but I come out of this thing, and if you read my book, you'll see how it come out. But I'm more interested now in the people that are intelligent, that do have an education. You're in a position, if you're in your 80s and you're in a position to speak into people's mind and speak into their lives and change what they're doing, because there is a time they're going to listen to somebody, but they're going to not listen to those that are not doing anything except for telling them how they can do it. There has to be action with our words. And another thing, I may come off with a lot of things. All my life, what got me in trouble was always letting come out of my mouth what was in my mind before it got filtered through my heart. So the thing is, be very careful what you say because you can't take them back. Look at what's going on in the news now. People are dropping every day because they're saying something stupid and not realizing it until after it comes out of their mouth. So what I'm telling you is, for me, it caused me more misery by being totally honest and totally what I felt and not realizing how dumb it sounded until it come out the mouth. So that's the first thing I had to start controlling, and that was hard for me, still is. And so I feel that this life is well worth living, no matter what's going on in this world right now. I figured anybody 80-something years old have no value, but I want you to know that if you're anywhere between 70 and 105, you've got value. As long as you've got breath, you got value. And if you don't believe that, then you're dead already. You got to know. You got to know what value is. The value is, what do you think is important? Now, the one thing that drives this whole entire world, not at this time, but what really would drive this world to the direction it needs to go is love. I mean, that was a hard word for me to say when I was young. I mean, 'cause one man to another guy, you tell him you love them, man, they think you're crazy. And so I grew up with thinking, man, that love word was bad, but it's nothing to do with the word as it is for what you truly believe. If you truly love someone, you need to let them know, because that's what life's all about. Everything we do should be tied to love. If you don't like what you're doing, don't waste your life. Get into something you love to do. I've got 2 reasons to wake up every morning. One is my wife, Shirley Jane, and my daughter, Joyce Ann. Those 2 are the reason I live and the reason I love, and they love me. See, there's no doubt in my mind that they love me, just like I love them. Now, that's a driving thing, but I got other people that love me, and I love them. But you have to have something, you have to have a reason to want to live. Then you have to have a reason, a purpose to do it. In other words, if there's probably a lot of you guys out there, or gals, that are very smart and know how to put things together. And if you're in the 80s, 90s, even 100, you think it's over. It's not over, because, see, you have stored that knowledge in. Now allow it to become useful. Your value can only be valued if you let it out, if you let people know. And there's people that would love to probably know what you know. There was people who would love to hear your advice. So if you're one of those guys, you're smart and you know it, then start doing something with it. Because then if you're physically able, you can put things together, you can show people how to do it. This life needs more love in it and more creation in it than just being mad at each other. And that's what's going on in this world right now. You don't dare say a certain word, because if you do, you're going to be in trouble. And see, and that's one thing I'm not going to get into with this program, is political or religion. I just want you to know that I serve God, and that's who I serve. But that's what this program is about. You, whatever you're doing. If you're up doing these things, you need to let other people know how to do it. If you're sitting there and wondering what you can do and you don't know, then you need to find out. And I know this for sure. This is one topic I know for sure. It's hard when you lose a loved one. I lost a son, 34 years old, 20 years ago. There isn't a day go by that I don't think about him. But there's a time to grieve, but then there's a time to rise up and go forward. I know it's hard. I've lost nephews, nieces, my mother, my father, my in-laws. I've lost a lot of them. I've done some of their funerals. But what I'm telling you is, if that's what's holding you down, get your grieving done. Then determine what you want to do and go do it. Because what you're able to offer this world, if you're holding it back because of a lost loved one, then you're not showing the duly respect of that person. If that person was here today, they'd want you to go forward. So you first have to get some positive thoughts in your mind. It is a time to stand up today and start looking around for someone to love and for somebody to love you. Now, if you get into those negative people, you need to cut them loose. I don't care if they're your brother, your uncle, your aunt, even your kids. If you got negativity running through you, you're never going to be able to do anything. And then about the time you're going to die, you're going to realize you wasted that time that you had before you pass on. You'll begin to wonder, Don't wonder. Live until you die. Don't die and then wait to be buried. The thing is this. I went through all of this stuff I'm talking about. I have been miserable. I'm depressed so bad I couldn't get out of bed. Then when I went through the COVID, I said, well, this is it. I'm gone. And I come out of that. So after looking back at all that, I say, well, you know what? It's time I start to do something. Undoubtedly, I've got some time left. So that's when I decided to start promoting my book and then open up a channel to relate what I have seen in my 81 years to those that hasn't went through that. And you got to question yourself. First thing is, you can't lie to yourself. You know, if you try, it's worthless. You can't lie to yourself. Are you capable? Do you know something? Whatever it takes. This is the time to stand up, because there's grandchildren, there's great-grandchildren, there's great-great-grandchildren. In life, I thought it was just me and mine. That's not what it's about. On this senior moment, which people say, you know, sometimes, oh, I had a senior moment when I forgot this. Had a senior moment when I fell down, or this or that. The whole thing is this. You need to just stand up. Because when you sit down and you stay down, the muscles begin to deteriorate. So what you need to do, I know, I was down for months, and man, when I finally decided to get up, I mean, it was terrible. But I started walking a little bit, and I started walking a little bit more. Next thing I know, I started doing things. I started building things. I mean, I don't know where this is going to go. I don't know how it's going to go. But I know there's people out there just like me, just like I was when I was going through the tough times. Don't let your life be controlled by other people. I spent lots of money on trying to get somebody to love me that didn't even like me. After all my money was gone, it was obvious. But I'm telling you, you need to know there is people that do care. There is people that do love. If you've run into all those negative people, the main thing is, and this, what I didn't realize is Albert Einstein is the one that coined this phrase about insanity. Well, I've been insane ever since I was born, because he said when you do the same thing over and over and over again, expecting a different result, that's insanity. Well, I broke down my life in 10-year span. One, when I was born till I was 10 years old. Well, you don't know much there. You just kind of know what you see and gather up. But then 10 to 20, then 20 to 30, then 30 to 40, then 40 to 50, then 50 to 60. And I look back for all those 10-year segments, I was doing the same thing every time and wondering why nothing changed. I wasn't able to grasp on how to change until I turned 78, 79. I've been in Tulare, California. November 1st was 3 years. I didn't learn how to do that until I moved to Tulare. I moved 170 miles away from my past. I lived 79 years in one spot, one town. I traveled a lot, but I was raised in a little place called Okieville. It's the east side of Stockton, California. And what I didn't realize, I was making the same decisions, doing the same thing every time, expecting different results. Einstein said, that's insanity. So undoubtedly I've been insane for all these years. And when I moved 170 miles away from my troubles, I began to see a little bit clearer. But that's when COVID hit me. And so about the time I started seeing things clear, I got knocked to my knees, and I said, well, I'm going to die in Tulare. But as it turned out, I didn't, because I'm here. But my thought to you is, no matter whether they're a relative, no matter whether they're friends, if they're telling you what all you can't do, you need to cut them loose. You need to get some space between them. You need to be able to start saying, hey, I want to do this, and I believe I can. And that's the beginning, is saying I can. Start looking at what you can do, not what you can't do. Then when you start looking at that, there's another side to this. There's a whole different lane in the highway of this life. When you move from the negative lane to the positive lane, you're going to begin to know, wait a minute, I've been sitting there all these years, and here is a positive lane that is just blessing my heart, and you bless other people when you do that. In the next segment, I have no idea what we're going to talk about, but I'm sure I'll figure it out. You be blessed again. All right, we're back in the third segment of this hour. And what I'd like for you to do is shoot me an email. Give me some of your experiences, or ask me questions on how you do this, or do you want to know this? Don't waste your time telling me how bad I am, because that goes straight to the shredder or the delete machine. So the main thing is, if we can help at all, That's what I want to be. Because number one, if we say the wrong thing, all I got to do is say, well, I'm 81 years old. I don't know what I'm talking about. So we've always got the old age to fall back on in case we say something really stupid. And this is a time in my life, and probably the people that would watch Senior Moment is people around my age or in the 70s or even older. So what you need to do is determine who you are. Because, see, I lived to be 81 years old. I didn't even know who I was. I was blessed with a great wife and blessed with children. Sometimes we have to just sit back and talk to ourselves. I know my wife worried about me so many times because I was in a position of just not knowing who I was or what I was capable of doing. I knew that I didn't never want to pastor again. The 5.5 years of that was enough, and I was called, but I was also released by the same person, the same God that called me. But you need to figure out who you are now, not 40 years ago. Talking about yesterday is not going to get you anything but a sore throat. Now you need to deal with what do you need to do today and look forward to the future. You know, another thing, I'm going to quote Albert Einstein a few times in here. I wanted you to know because in his old age is when he spoke these things. So he understood. He understood what coming up against people that didn't want to do anything but tear him down. So he recognized this. This is what Albert Einstein said about imagination and about the knowledge. Imagination is more important than knowledge. For while knowledge defines all one currently knows and understands, imagination points to all we might yet discover and create. Now, he'd done this in his old age. He realized that what we do when we're young, we have to reformat when we get older. Because if we don't reformat ourselves, there's people out there that will. So what I'm talking about today is you need to sit back and you need to begin to look. I love to talk about this because, number one, I finally realized there's peace. I've got a great peace with this life right now, and it wasn't easy to come by. I had to take some people out of my life that was causing destruction. But you got to be able to recognize that. People that put you down and talk about you, and they're not there for you. They're afraid you're going to get up and do something, and that's going to pull their covers, and they'll have to get up and do something. So they want to keep you down on their level. So what I'm asking you to do is search in your heart and your mind. And who are you? What have you done? And what you've done really doesn't matter now. What matters now is what are you doing today? Are you looking forward to tomorrow? Or is it just another day? Man, I'm going to tell you what, I look forward for that sun coming up every morning. And it'll come up whether we're here or not. And it's what you do under that sun that determines what you're made of. What's your value? You value your family, or do you value greed? Do you value, if you value money, I'm going to tell you quickly, if you're valuing money, if you're storing away like a squirrel and putting his nuts away, you need to rethink that. Because that money will not buy you love. It will buy you people. It will buy you things. But it will not buy you love. Because love is not a commodity that's for sale. That has to come from the heart. I am really blessed to be in a position that the people I deal with, my pastor and my friends, we deal with the reality of life. The reality of life is we're going to die because nobody's going to get out of here alive. Now, if you're 20 years old right now, I promise you, you're going to die. It's what you do between the time you were born and until the time you pass away that either gives value to your life or you're just another existence. What you need to look for is, what do you know? What are you able to do with it? And who can you do it with? Now, right at this moment, I am satisfied who I am. I'm satisfied with what I'm doing. And I'm satisfied with whom I'm doing it with. So if you could get into a position like that, you know, it's, and if you can't answer those questions like that, then you need to take another look. The biggest thing is you need to be who you are, not who you are according to someone else. I've seen it the whole time. Money controls thoughts sometimes. It causes us not to do something that we should have done, or causes us to do something we should not have done. Because what we're talking about today is elderly, you know. Hopefully later on, if I survive this, we'll have some guest speakers on and ask them questions and how they went through whatever they went through. But right now, I'm just trying to set a precedent. The main thing I want to do is put value into your life. Value comes from the heart, doesn't come from the wallet. Value is what you value your wife or your husband. Value is your children. When I was in the parent age, you know, I spent more time at the bar, more time running around with friends and doing things that absolutely had no business doing. And the next thing I knew, my children were grown. And when you get to that realization, as in my book, it talks about the time that I come to that realization. And it broke my heart. It just come to a position where I said, wow, you know, I had these 3 children and really was absolutely not there for them, you know, not at all. I was there financially a few times, but not like I should have been. But financially isn't the answer. It's being there for them through the troubles that they went through. You need to be there for them. You need to lay your heart out to them. And you people that are in your 30s and 40s and you got children, don't take them for granted. That's the first thing. That's your life. That's your value. You have something that has more value than gold or silver or dollars or whatever. That's the thing I missed. I lost that. And let me tell you, it's hard to get back. I'm very fortunate to be in a position now with my children. My daughter, I'm able to really have a relationship with her. But sometimes you can't heal. Sometimes you have to let it go. And that's the hard part. So what I'm telling you today, I want to speak to the elderly. Don't be miserable. There's people out there that want to love you. And you need to be one of them that loves back. Now, if they're coming at you with misery and ugliness, don't play into that. Cut them loose. No matter whether they're children, no matter whether they're adults, no matter whether they're friends, sometimes we hang on to people that we should have let go a long time ago. And most of you out there, if you've been any age at all, you have run into a position where one-sided love. Now, you know what that is. When you love somebody and they don't love you, that makes a miserable life for both of you. It creates jealousy, creates anger, creates animosity. So that's the first thing you have to do, is be aware, be sure you're around the people that you can embrace, not to have to endure with. When you have to put up with somebody on a daily basis that's nothing but negative, that's drawing you down, that's sucking the life out of you, and it's hard. Change is hard. Nobody likes change. I'm going to tell you, again with Albert Einstein, he said, weak people seek revenge. Strong people forgive. Intelligent people ignore. You see, sometimes we don't need to put that into our mind and into our heart. We need to just ignore it and go on, because somewhere there is a person. There is people. There is things you can do. Things you'll be able to be proud of standing up for. You don't have to be that person according to somebody else. So what you need to do, never think about revenge. That's a waste of time and probably would end you up in jail. And forgiveness is a good thing. But it doesn't mean you have to forgive them and keep on dealing with them. You forgive them for all the misery they brought in your life, and then you get away from them. That way, you don't have to forgive them again. You see, you really have to understand the reality of life. The reality of life is, the older you get, the more you better enjoy it, because pretty soon we're not going to be here. And then if we waste the last years of our life on somebody else and then realize at the end it was the wrong person, what a waste. That's wasting a life. I'm telling you today, there's millions and millions of people that I know is in the same position I was. I was very, very fortunate to have my second wife. I was very fortunate to come up with her. Been married 37 years. Knew her 9 days before we got married, so we knew for sure. But I don't recommend that, because when you marry in a short period of time, that means as you live and grow and have to do business, you have to learn each other's ways. That's a tough one. It was hard for us, but we did it. We survived it. And if everybody would have a mate like mine, they wouldn't have any miseries. So what I'm telling you, look up, look around, see who you're dealing with, and start dealing with the positive, not the negative. And we're ending this segment. God bless. We're back again on the last segment of this hour. I want to be sure and let you know that I am really interested in hearing from you. Email and go to herbkeener.com and you'll see some of my personal attributes of things in my life. And there's some writings I have put on there that through the years I've wrote for my wife and for others. I believe they would be interesting reading because they were segments in my life through the last 10 or 12 years. I haven't done much writing since I published a book. Once I got that down, I don't know what happened. I just kind of backed off on writing. But usually when I wrote something, it was because of a situation or a thing in my life. I lost a very good friend, and I was able to write about her. I was with her when they decided she was going to die, and it was called "Do You Know I Love You?" And I think that was the most moving writing I ever had. Now, that's on herbkeener.com. If you want to go read that, it just blessed my heart because it come from my heart how I really, truly felt about her. And but this last segment, I just really want to kind of stabilize what my purpose is. And my purpose for this broadcast is to be able to enlighten those that are of an age that they feel like they're done, they can't do anything. And I was the same way, but at 81, I decided I'm going to live until I die. The perfect situation would be to go to sleep one night and wake up in heaven. So whatever comes and whatever does, I've seen a lot in the years that I've been here. I've really done some dumb things. But at the end of my life, now, I believe I'm going to be able to minister, speak into the hearts of some of the people. Like if you have churches, I'm an evangelist, I will come and minister, or a community thing, I will come and speak. And the subject naturally would be about the elderly, about even the youth. The youth need to know that there's consequences. There's consequences out there for all that we're doing. Do you know, I see every day, I look at the news on my computer. Every day, someone's dying from gunshots. So that person that died left somebody behind, left their families, and it's heartbreaking. So if we begin to minister to the youths now, the fathers and the mothers and the brothers, the uncles, the aunts, they would start ministering that love into their hearts, and instead of revenge or instead of hatred, start working with them youth and let them know that they have the power within them to change what's going on in this world right now. I mean, there's some people you're never going to reach. But if you reach one of them, just one of them, that decides, wait a minute, this isn't the life, this is, I love my mama, I love my daddy, I want to do more, I want to do this. And you get them in the other lane of life. You get them out of that dangerous lane and get them into a safety lane. If just one child, and especially if it's your child, you would be especially appreciative. But what I want to do, I just want to wake those people up that are not thinking. Because not thinking is just as bad as thinking bad. Because when you're not thinking, that means you're not doing. And when you're not doing, nothing changes. Everything stays the same. Right now, this world is divided so bad. But it doesn't have to divide the family. It doesn't have to divide you. It doesn't have to divide those that are wanting to live normally. Whatever normal is. Normal is different for different people. I've never found a normal. I've always been on the edge. And there's nothing wrong with that as long as you're doing something positive and not doing the negative. See, it is so heartbreaking to read the headlines every day. Someone dies of a gunshot wound. A drunk driver hits another car and kills a whole family. Now that's heart-wrenching. And 90% of the time, they're not held accountable to how they should be. So the world needs a change. You know, it's like a couple of dogs I got. They were stranded at the church I go to in Strathmore. Well, I took them home. You know what? Because I took those two strays home, doesn't mean it's going to change the world. But for those two dogs, the world was changed completely. They are blessed. They get treats all the time. They're excited every time to see me. And before they had to scrounge garbage cans to get food and stuff like that. So it's not going to change the world by you changing, but it's going to change your world. And that's the world, that's the only world that we can change, is ours. Once we change ours, we become a symbol to those around us. You know, they see the goodness, they see the love, they see the caring. Isn't it better to create in a child's heart love and affection and caring and compassion than it is to create in them that cheating, stealing, or guns and all that? And someone has to make the move. And it doesn't matter. You can't change anybody else. The only person, the only thing, the only life you can change is your own. And when you change that, all those people that are around you that you love and they love you, they see that change, they see that compassion, they see that love, then it gets infectious. They begin to be that way. Then when they begin to be that way, then the people around them, and it's not going to change until everybody takes responsibility for who they are. And there's some rude people in this world. I'm going to tell you what, they are some rude folks. And you get out there in the Highway 99 running up and down the road, there's some crazy people out there. Rude. I mean, just terrible. And just don't be one of them. Why would you want to take a chance on killing an innocent person by your crazy driving? So what, instead of showing that you need to get the last say, how many people got shot for getting out, going back, wanting to beat somebody up? But let me tell you what, they don't fist fight anymore. It's all about guns. So if your driving habits are so stupid that it causes infractions everywhere you go, whoever's riding with you, especially children or young people, they'll pick up that same habit. Because if they're looking up to you, they'll want to do what you do. You need to check what you do because you're on display. You're on display to those that love you. You're on display to those that care about you. And what you do determines on what they do. So it's time in this life to be that person that you were born to be. You wasn't born to be a hoodlum. You wasn't born to be a crazy driver. You wasn't born to be a drunk driver. You were born to love and to be loved and to have compassion, not arrogance. Oh, my goodness, now arrogance, that's a word that can go with you. There's about 1.2 million out there with that. And once you get arrogance, man, ignorance is the lack of knowledge. Arrogance is stupidity. When they think, they're a legend in their own mind, anything they do is fine. Nothing they can do. Well, you just watch the people that follow them. They become just like them. If you want to change the world, start changing yours, because that's the only one you can control. Compassion, understanding, love. And the world, if you look at some places in the world, you'll think there's no hope whatsoever. But if you, in your heart, change your little world, you could affect another world, and another world can affect another world. And if this sounds outrageous, it's not. I changed who I was. I was one of them arrogant idiots running around there for 40 years. Then I seen the reaction. I seen when you can tell the difference when people love to see you coming. Because when they're happy when you leave, and they hate to see you come, so something's up. But when you are that person that they admire, they want to embrace, they smile when you come. They don't frown and start running for the backyard. So this is the only way anything's going to change, is one person has to change. Like I said about them dogs, I couldn't change the world about the troubles dogs have by bringing them 2 dogs home. But I changed their world. I definitely changed their world. They didn't get separated. They're in a great place. They love it. And it's the same way with a child. You're not going to change the world by taking in a child. But if you take in a child, you're going to change that child's life. And that's what's important. One life at a time. I think there's 7 billion people on this planet. And the ones that are really out there for their own selfish, totally outrageous, if you're one of them, there will be consequences. And there'll also be consequences if you're one that loves and you have compassion and understanding. I know a lot of people in the world that I traveled in before I became a Christian would be laughing at the words I'm saying right now. And that would have bothered me back then. But today, I'm going to try to be like that intelligent one. I'm just going to ignore that because it doesn't matter. Because when we're dead, there is no more. You either go in one or two places. And I've got my ticket on the first train. I know I'm going to heaven. But that doesn't mean everybody is. But that means that you can. And all I can say right now, in closing with this segment, this is the first time I've ever done anything like this. So if things were bad and you got offended in any way, I'm sorry. But we all have to start somewhere. I can't tell you it's time for you to change your life if I don't change my own. This has been my dream. This has been my goal. So you be blessed, and God bless you all.
Aqua Nails Spa is the most luxurious nails and spa salon in Fresno and Clovis. Our staff are friendly, courteous, and highly skilled. Come in and let us pamper you. Located at 1398 Shaw Avenue in Clovis, California, on the southwest corner of Shaw and Sunnyside. Also located at 1850 Herndon Avenue, Suite 111 in Clovis, California.
CentralValleyTalk.com. I'm Austin Reed, coming to you from our Tower District studios inside the Mike Briggs building. Welcome.
Gentry Salon in Old Town Clovis.
Okay, and you guys are in that new two-story building,
right on Clovis Avenue.
Originally, Oh My Crepes, this is something that we've been wanting to do for a while now.
We are talking about the Fresno Freeze now, women's soccer. And joining us in our Tower District studios is Kevin.
Stephanie D'Angio, and she's here for Mardi Gras.
I am.
Stephanie.
Thank you for having me.
Ken joining us live via Zoom, an author. Ken, welcome back to Central Valley Talk.
Yeah, 321 book.shop.
Well, a good update is that the market is still hot, just like the weather here in the Central Valley.
This is Newsmakers, and I'm Mike Briggs. We've been coming to you every year for about 13 years, talking about the news and talking to people in the news and people who make the news. We have a special guest, Fresno County Supervisor Buddy Mendez. Welcome, Supervisor.
Well, thank you, Mike.
My next guest is Darren Redmond, the Executive Director of PAIN, Parents and Addicts in Need, one of my new best friends here in the Central Valley.
Yes.
Welcome back.
Have dents or dings that need to be removed from your car? Well, look no further. Here at Say Magnifique, we offer paintless dent repair, interior repair, windshield repair, wheel repair, scratch, and automotive touch-ups. A new headlight restoration system guaranteed to never have your headlights dull again. Say Magnifique is a mobile business, and we'll come to you. Reasonable rates guaranteed. Don't hesitate to call 559-704-7525. That's 559-704-7525. Say Magnifique, your one-stop auto body shop.